All right, are you ready?
I'm ready. Are you going to do it on your screen?
I will pitch you on the theme idea.
Okay.
And then we and the friends at home can use the chat bar to help us develop the theme idea. And then I'll share my Crossfire screen and I'll be the extension of your crossword puzzle acumen. I'll be a vessel and you will fill me. That's a weird metaphor. With your crossword expertise. How about that?
Sounds great.
Okay. Here is my theme proposal to you. The revealer answer is the phrase Holy Spirit.
Okay.
And the reason I've chosen it is because we, and hopefully everyone watching, is properly lubricated so that this is even remotely entertaining or edifying for them. But what I'm imagining are a set of theme answers that contain a spirit within them.
Great.
But can I go into a little bit of a diatribe here?
Listening.
Hidden word themes, okay.
He's prepared with a slideshow.
Putting on my teacher hat for a second. Actually, I think I had this exact conversation with Lucy. Hi, Lucy. Sorry to put you on blast again. Hidden word theme puzzles are ubiquitous. They're everywhere, right?
They are.
And for me, what elevates a hidden word theme crossword puzzle from the mass of them are two things. One is a snappy, interesting revealer answer. So you're looking at a phrase egocentric. This was in a puzzle that a collaborator and I had in the LA Times last week. Egocentric was the revealer answer, and the theme answers all had the word self buried in the little center of the answer. So diesel fuel has self, damselfish has self as the center 4 letters. And on the one hand, I thought it was cute. Can you back me up? Is that cute?
Pretty cute. I think pretty cute. I'm charmed.
I don't really believe you based on your tone, but
Oh, that's how I sound.
The other thing is, if if this kind of theme goes one step further, it makes me way happier. And this is what I mean. The phrase lapel mic occurred to me when I was watching a White House press briefing recently. When I got a cutaway shot of my new favorite White House correspondent, Yamiche Alcindor. I don't know if I pronounced her name correctly now that I've said it out loud. But the hidden word here is the word mic. And this is apt for me because this woman is a person who wears a lapel mic frequently because she's a political reporter and she's on TV a lot. So Yamiche Alcindor here is wearing a lapel mic in an apt way. Like, the content of the theme answer is important in a way that it's not important here in diesel fuel and damselfish. Does that make sense?
Are you asking me, or is that a hypothetical?
I know it makes sense to you, but I want you to just like be the...
Yes, it makes sense.
So what I'm asking of you and our friends here is to try and generate some theme material that not only has a spirit hidden within it, filled with the Holy Spirit, but the meaning of the base phrase has to be in some sense a religious connotation.
Right.
Is anything coming to mind for you?
One. I don't know. Can we like go through really quick a list of what might be a spirit? So
yeah. Tell me what comes to mind for you, and then we'll talk about like keeping this tight and consistent.
Yeah, I think gin is a spirit, right?
Gin is a spirit, yeah.
I don't know a lot about alcohol. I just drink my IPAs. Is what you're drinking a spirit?
I'm drinking vodka, but I don't think we're gonna see vodka.
I thought you were drinking something else. Rye?
Rye is definitely a spirit, and those are common letters. That could be useful.
Gin, rye. I don't know. What else?
You can
Rum?
look at
Oh, I love rum.
the chat bar.
Okay, well then one is coming to mind for me, but I'm gonna probably need to access our various resources for more.
Is
That
sake, Lucy, I'm calling you out. Is sake a spirit per se? I don't actually know.
no, it's a rice wine. I'm not too sure.
Wine? Yes, it is. Ken, I'm going to believe Ken out of hand.
Okay. I think, yeah, virgin is one. I was also thinking original sin.
Oh, that's good.
Because then we could clue it as, historical precedent for blaming women for stuff. Just kidding.
No, that's fine. I'm typing that in the chat bar so that people can see it.
Yeah, I think especially if we're going with Episcopal Church, because
that's so good. The temperature is rising in here.
Understandable. Because what I would say is like the Episcopal Church one, Pisco, I'm actually not familiar with what that is, but either way, it's not spanning the two words. And so if we're so I guess we need to go one way or the other somehow. And an original sin at least is consistent with that, where it's embedded within one of the two words.
Can I just give a shout out to Alex and Jeff who submitted Virgin Mary based on your proposal of the word virgin?
Love that.
That's awesome. Annie,
I don't know what Pisco is, and I have a feeling all these themers are not going to be Jewish. So I'm out of my depth here, and
Okay. So I like what we're doing so far. I'm just going to share a Crossfire screen so that we can capture some of these ideas. If you'll all bear with me. For the uninitiated, this is the interface for the program Crossfire, which if you're interested in learning how to create crossword puzzles, I recommend buying some software. There are free versions, but this I found to be a pretty useful interface that is worth the $40 if you've got that lying around.
It was. I also use Crossfire, so no complaints.
So I'm not putting these in any particular place. I'm just capturing them. Holy Spirit is going to be our revealer. Original sin is a freaking great example of this. We could make this an easy puzz and like draw circles around the spirits. And it occurs to me actually that Episcopal, it could be anything with the word Episcopal in it.
Yeah, it could be church, it could be Episcopal.
Episcopalian, for example.
Yeah. Episcopal Church is a spanner, isn't it?
That's pretty sexy.
How are you feeling about consistency? Do you want to stick with them all in one word, or do you want to go like 2 and 2?
I think we should expand to either or both, because this is.
Never mind, I don't.
What about, so we had rum as a potential, vodka as a spirit. I'm doubtful. Sake sounds a little dubious to me as like a spirit per se, but let's leave it on the list for now because we're drunk.
Yeah.
And this is, I think, where actually I have a couple ideas, but I want to open this up to the community. Oh, rye.
Yeah,
rye.
I'm looking into rye now to see if there's anything that I see. For a second, I forgot we were only doing the religious things, and I thought I had something, but then I'm back on board now.
I'm just capturing some of the things that people are writing in the chat bar. Is mead a spirit per se? What is a spirit?
I don't know what exactly.
Is there anyone who knows like anything really about alcohol out there? Because to draw back the curtain a little bit, crossword constructors don't really know all of these things out of hand. We do a lot of like Wikipedia surfing.
My Google search makes me look insane.
I'm
Googling it right now.
Alex and Jeff are going out of their mind with usefulness because sake is buried in the word Forsaken.
Ooh, that's nice. Okay, this says, oh wait. This says alcoholic drinks that have an alcohol content of at least 20% ABV are spirits. So it's
Okay.
just stuff that gets fucked up.
I, I think I'm going to leave everything on this list, including sake. I accept that we could be fact checked appropriately in the morning, and the better angels of our nature will prevail, and we will realize that we can't actually use sake. But let's leave it on there for now.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends. If it's over 20% alcohol content, then it's a spirit. It's that simple, it looks like, according to Google.
I want to give another shout out to Parker, who has given a spirited defense of sake and other answers.
Amazing.
I want to hug you, Parker, but I can't because you're not close enough to, and that would be
A violation of protocol?
not abiding public health protocols. You know what I just thought of? Are there any drums in the world that are religiously connotated?
You know what? I don't really associate drums with the church, but again, I'm not an expert.
It also occurs to me that it's hidden in the word trumpet, and I know that like trumpets are sometimes associated with heavenly choruses.
Yeah.
You feeling me?
That's maybe some kind of trumpet, not a
Oh, little drummer boy. Except
Ooh.
it's not. It doesn't change the meaning.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, seven trumpets in Revelation. Oh, do the seven trumpets portend the end times? I think that's true. That's like, is it that kind of puzzle? Are we saying that 2020 is the end times?
We are leaning in hard to whatever this vibe is, and it's a vibe that I'm not going to be useful again probably until we start filling the grid.
I'm getting into it. We're taking off the job.
I'm really into like everyone's thoughts and feedback who knows other stuff than me. I just am thinking about Jewish delis.
All right. I want to use forsaken. So
Yeah.
why hast thou forsaken me isn't going to fit in our grid.
I was just thinking that. Actually, oh my god, it was really weird. As I was thinking it, you said it.
But maybe.
What about forsaken by God?
Holy shit.
Don't do it.
Well, I mean, we can get a little bit.
Yeah, you can do God forsaken. Yeah, that makes it a little more beefy, like an admission.
Oh, and it matches your original sin.
Yeah, it's so good, so good.
I'm doing my dance again.
For everyone watching, this is not the first time that Ross and I have intoxicatingly, whatever the word is, made a crossword. This is time number 2, I guess.
Dan has just like, in my imagination, Dan just like scrolled into this Zoom like 2 minutes ago and like looked around and he was like, I'm gonna take charge of this situation.
100%. 100%. What's Gabriel's? Oh yeah, that's true. Anything goes wrong. I didn't even read the second half.
And Paolo points out that why hast thou forsaken me?
Incredible.
Hold on, I just had a thought. Can someone fact check me here? But my like drunk brain thinks that either the greatest story ever told or greatest story ever told might be a how long are those answers? They're not going to fit in the 15 by 15 grid, but hold on, let me type this out. Greatest story ever told. That's 8 plus 5 is 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. I'm putting this in the chat bar, and I'm going to claim I am the greatest Holy Spirit puzzle maker ever. Because ever told. Because greatest story ever told is a grid spanner. It has rye in it.
Incredible.
So pleased. Paolo, let's get in touch after this and make the Sunday size version of this puzzle because I think it's ready to go. Do we have enough?
We have a lot. Let's see. We have the Revealer, Original Sin, Episcopal Church. God. I mean, technically we do. We could get one more. Well, actually, we need one more. If we're gonna use the spanner, we need one more.
I don't think we do. I think we have 2 spanners. We
Oh,
have
I see. Wait, where's the second spanner? I don't see it.
Gabriel's trumpet and Episcopal.
Oh, yeah.
This is great. The only thing is Holy Spirit as our revealer doesn't have a paired answer. So it would have to go in the middle, and it's only 10 letters long. So we'd have to go to an even numbered, we'd have to go to 16 by 15.
You could make it Holy Spirits if you felt so inclined.
But that's is that even a thing? That's not.
I mean, not really, but.
No.
To be honest, I have no idea. Is it the Holy Spirit singular?
It's the Holy Spirit. And for those of you watching at home, what you're seeing right now is the devil on Amanda's shoulder telling her, it's okay. You can pluralize that. That will be fine. When the angel on her shoulder, who I imagine as a tiny Paolo, saying, nah, it's Holy Spirit. You have to stick with Holy Spirit.
Actually, the only thing you're seeing on my shoulders is just a pile of latkes and rugula. I have no idea what any of this is. I don't know if it could be plural or not.
You make a good point. The Holy Spirit is a Christian, concept. So
No idea.
we have limited ourselves to to the biblical traditions.
That's totally okay. I just didn't know if Holy Spirit was a singular entity or if there were lots of Holy Spirits who you interact with.
I'm going to assume that the tiny devil that just appeared in the chat bar is Paolo, and that's the funniest joke that will be made tonight. So I think you've redeemed yourself, and I would like to release you from the scourge of all of the spam email that I told people to send you. You're absolved, my son. Peace be upon you, and walk with God.
Wow, this is really taking a turn.
Should we make it a 16 by 15 grid?
I think we have to. Unless
yes. Ken, one of my favorite crossword Twitter contributors has suggested that.
Amazing.
Holy Spirit.
Okay.
Which is legit because adding the article to phrases like this usually is kind of a no-no unless you're talking about a singular identifiable thing. And in this case, the Holy Spirit is usually how we refer to it.
Cool.
Are you with me?
I'm with you. I'm getting quite an education here.
Do you support me?
I do.
Tell me I'm pretty.
Beautiful.
Okay, let's do
that. Tie is breathtaking.
They've identified cast out for stout. I gotta say though, a beer doesn't strike me as a spirit. I think that's beyond the pale.
Yeah, I think because it has to be 20% alcohol ABV to be a spirit.
That's beyond the pale ale.
Incredible.
Okay, so Amanda, walk me through laying out this grid.
Okay, what do we have here? Hang on. Is Gabriel's trumpet part of it?
Yes, we're gonna have.
Can you put it up there? Okay. I'm gonna need all the visual help I can get right now. I am moderately impaired, but I trust in our ability. Okay, so what we have here, we have the Holy Spirit, which I still believe is going to have to be the revealer in the center. And then we're going to have Episcopal Church and Gabriel's trumpet, and Original Sin and God Forsaken.
Okay. Wait.
So
I think you're going to have to.
And then, well, I mean, honestly, if I was doing this just on my own, messing around, I would try both versions of this, where I would see kind of what it looked like with the spanners closest to the revealer versus with the other one closest to the revealer. I'm inclined, just for visual reasons, to put the long answers closer to the revealer and the shorter answers further away from the revealer, because otherwise it would look a little interesting, but I'd be willing to do that if this doesn't glean any good fill. So I think I would put Episcopal Church and Gabriel's Trumpet maybe like two rows down, or 2 rows away. Yeah, exactly like where you have Gabriel's Trumpet now. And then put the other ones 2 rows further down from there. Let's just see.
I'm at the point
Nice.
my spelling
Going well.
is going to wait. Can you slow back up for just 1 second here? You're an expert, so you knew that Holy Spirit was going to belong here in the middle. But can you talk to the people about why that's the case?
Yeah, so in this theme set, we have 113, which is the Holy Spirit. We have 2 15s, Gabriel's Trumpet and Episcopal Church, and we have 2, whatever those are, Original Sin and God Forsaken. So since Holy Spirit stands alone in since it's the only 13, it doesn't have a match, which means we have to put it in the center, because if it was anywhere else, it would need a matching entry. So the center will hold that, and it's perfect because we can put 1 black square on each side. Can I
pause you?
You may.
There is some perseverating in the chat bar about Gabriel's Trumpet, and I think it's coming to mind that actually the phrase is Gabriel's horn.
I have no idea.
And it's like, can someone do some Googling on our behalf? Because I think that's not even really like a religious. You know what? Actually, I think this is salvageable, because someone check my math on this. But I think this is a thing.
If that's the case, then we can put the Episcopal Church in the middle and then have a match for the revealer.
7 trumpets is definitely a thing, and I think Angel's Trumpet is a plant.
Interesting. But if Angel's Trumpet is a plant, doesn't that kind of take us out of our theme?
It has the word angels in it.
True.
But 7 trumpets is, I know that for sure. In Revelation,
Clicking on the 7 trumpets link that
it signals the end time.
Oh wow, perfect for right now. How apt.
And it occurs to me that 7 trumpets and Holy Spirit are both 13.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then Holy Spirit should come out of the middle. What's that sound?
I don't know. Let's ignore it. It's Satan trying to curse this Zoom.
That was the magnificent Audra McDonald, an international opera star.
Is that me? Oh my God, you guys! A Sondheim concert just like started playing on my computer. I didn't do any. I must have clicked like a YouTube thing by accident, and just like Sondheim's 80th birthday concert just started playing. I'm so sorry.
I've ever heard.
That was the most on-brand accident that's ever happened. I'm so sorry.
Can we refocus here, Amanda? Because we do have 2 13 long answers that match each other and that fit the theme.
Okay, so that means we need to put Episcopal Church in the middle.
Episcopal Church now goes in the middle.
Correct.
Why?
Because it's the only 15. It doesn't have a match, and if it doesn't have a match, it needs to go in the middle.
Thank you kindly.
You're welcome. So now the Holy Spirit, the revealer, can go at the bottom.
So it's a 13-letter revealer, which it does need to go at the bottom. So how do we accommodate a 13-letter revealer at the bottom of our puzzle?
4 up.
What's that?
I would go 4 up.
Here?
4, whatever. Yeah, where the E is.
Do you want to justify it left or right, or?
It looks like it will be, if we go left, right, left, it will be towards the right, yeah, because they have to offset each other, and I imagine the first one will be toward the left, 2 to the right, 3 to the left, 4 to the right.
Can I Okay, so if that's the case,
That may not work though with the center revealer. But
can I pitch you on a slightly different layout?
of course.
Because
It's so weird to do without doing it.
I know, I'm trying to follow you here. If this is the case, then original sin and God forsaken are going to have to go in the 6th and 10th rows.
Yeah.
And that's going to create a lot of theme material jammed in the middle 9 rows of this puzzle.
Definitely agree.
So here's my pitch. This is like kind of like one of those avant-garde, like indie puzzle constructions that I sometimes rely on. But if you put the revealer in these, like, what was our other 13? Oh my God, 7.
Oh boy. Oh yeah, 7 trumpets.
I'm just gonna put this back here so I don't forget it because I'm hammered.
Yeah.
But
that was.
how does that strike you?
And then the other one would go 2 below Episcopal Church, is what you're saying? I think, yeah, let's give it a shot. I think that works because that gives us decent space from the middle, because if we moved it in a row, then we'd have 3 kind of crammed right in there, and that could stifle the fill quite a bit.
What was the last one? I deleted it from my brain.
Oh no, 7 trumpets, God forsaken, Episcopal Church, the Holy Spirit. Oh no. Help us, please. Original sin. Oh my God, that was the one that I thought of. It's all good. Okay, this looks cool. Okay.
Wait. So talk to the people, Amanda. Give them a brief lecture as to why we arrived at this particular arrangement. Like what conventions are we abiding?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think to be fair, to start off, the way this is laid out is a little bit unorthodox in terms of the 4 corners. It's awesome. I love it, and you won't see it routinely. But in terms of how they're spaced out, Episcopal Church is in the center, obviously. But then if we had moved God forsaken down a row and original sin up a row, what that would have given us is 3 theme items within 5 rows, which would have really, really affected the fill, because there would have been a lot of constraints on the fill, because you would be so confined, and so many of the letters within any given fill entry would have been predetermined, because they would have been so kind of packed in together. So by spacing it out this way, we're kind of giving ourselves a little bit more breathing room. And even up towards the top or down towards the bottom where there's 2 near each other, at least, you know, if we're talking about fill having to go through those, at least we're only talking about 2 entries instead of 3 entries. So we're basically just trying to make as many options within the fill as possible by giving the grid room to breathe. And if there's anything you want to add to that, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself. The idea is generally to space your theme answers out as much as possible, because if you do that, then you can separate them with black squares from one another, and therefore you limit the number of times that a down answer has to pass through more than one theme answer.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a concise way to say it?
Yeah, I think so. What's going to be interesting about this grid, now that I'm looking, is that when you lay out a grid in a quote conventional way, as in not with 4 corners and a stair stack.
Someone pointed out it's an unorthodox.
I know, I saw that and wanted to laugh and comment, but you were talking and I was trying to be polite.
Good.
But normally you would have your 2 long down answers like right there in, say, that 3rd row, but because of the stair stacks, we may or may not be able to get quite as long of a down entry as we would normally get. So it'll be interesting to see when we start to mess around with this, where we put in some of those answers, because there are some options for long answers, but they would have to come out of the side, and that's going to cut it off.
So for the record, I have locked these in as theme answers with the Control T function, which turns them a lovely shade of purple. And that just means that I can't accidentally delete them when we start trying to fill this grid. And to your point, Amanda, I'm looking at these corners here and here, and I'm seeing a couple of places where I'm like a little bit disconcerted by like this V and this F sharing the same column because they're uncommon letters.
I swap those themers maybe if you can, if that helps. Maybe
what?
you could swap not the outer two because the revealer has to be where it is, but if we end up with a problem, original sin and godforsaken are interchangeable entries. So
make a good point. Yeah.
We could see if that helped at all. I don't know if I agree with you that the VF is striking me as a place that could be problematic, and the original sin has a lot of vowels. Yeah. So that might be a way to kind of loosen that up a little bit.
If you don't mind, I might just throw down some black squares and ask you what your opinion is, and maybe try to rap a little bit about why you think I've done what I've done.
Sure. I'll do my best. Oi. I have to say oi in this grid for representation purposes.
You're not wrong. You're not.
I'm scared already. I'm very scared. Okay. Well, you've given me two things to kvetch about so far. Again, just trying to get that representation in there.
Dial it back slightly. I really kind of want to like put this here so that we can do.
Goy, yeah, absolutely. Oh, gay too. Goy or gay would both be great for me.
That being said, yeah, let's do that. Let's leave that there. Ooh, can we just lock this in right now just to throw some love to our like Gen Z audience?
Totes. Did you like how I used totes just for them? Okay. So the things that strike me as concerning right off the bat are, and that's very funny. I like the idea of the crucifix in there. That would be funny.
That would be pretty.
There is a black square. I'm looking at the 7 trumpets entry, and there's a black square underneath the V, and there's a black square underneath the U. And not that is completely and totally a deal breaker, because obviously there are legit entries that could end in both. The number of entries that you would be excited about versus the number of entries that are going to be like, oh my God, how do I not see this anymore, are probably not equal. There's a lot of crappy entries that end in V, and there's a lot of crappy entries that end in U. So I would not necessarily, I would much rather have that black square under the K, for instance, instead of the U, because there are a lot more words to be excited about that end in a K, probably, than end in a U. In terms of the V, that part might be, with the F there, that actually might be a necessary evil, unless we swap those two themers, because I don't think we're going to see a lot with the VF combination, although, I mean, I don't know, but offhand, yeah. In terms of swapping with Holy Spirit, which somebody pointed out, the revealer pretty much has to be either in the center or in the bottom, as far as I've seen. I don't know, Ross, if you've seen something else, but I've only ever seen revealers either centered in the middle or in the bottom portion for whatever reason. That's sort of just how the convention is.
Yeah, I mean, I generally like to ask of crossword conventions, like, is this really an important feature of the puzzle convention, list? And in this case, I do like when the revealer answer, which is to say the answer that explains the gimmick of your puzzle, either comes last, so it's towards the end of your solve, if you're solving like kind of, top left to bottom right, which is how the clues are oriented, or in the middle, because it's like the marquee answer. It doesn't have a sister answer. It's all by itself, and is unique in that way. So I like that convention of either having it here in the middle or down in the bottom. There are conventions that I rebel against. I think it's pretty fashionable to rebel against like having duplicated answers in your puzzle. Like that doesn't bother me at all. And like I see people going on Twitter a lot being like, you know what I don't like? Not duplicated answers. I'm fine with dupes in my puzzle. And you know, and you get some amens. Yeah.
Totally. I kind of think of it in terms of, not to like get really nerdy on everyone, but I sort of think of it in terms of the way that I think of stuff related to the theater, in terms of like there are certain conventions that are there to help the audience enjoy it, because it will make the audience enjoy it more, because it gives them an anchor, it gives them something to like ground themselves in terms of knowing what to expect. And I think that's one of those conventions. Whereas there's people pushing the boundaries of the form in theater that's exciting, you know what I mean? And I think of it in a similar way in terms of what conventions are there and lend to audience enjoyment and giving them something to anchor themselves, versus what is there just because it's historically been there, but we don't necessarily like have to stick to it, because why would we?
Amanda, can you talk a little bit about some of the stats that we've generated with this layout of black squares?
Totally.
We've put in a number of black squares there that has implications for the word count of the puzzle and other things. So like what do you think about like just the stats that are being represented here in the Crossfire interface?
I know that, you know, the number of blocks, quote, quote, that's actually one of the things that I look at the least compared to some of the other stats. But I do know, because I've made puzzles like this, that by putting the stair stacks in the corners, you kill a lot of your blocks if you're looking at that count right off the bat. But in terms of the word count, I think that's an important thing to keep an eye on, because most of the primary outlets have limitations and like rules around word count. With themed puzzles like this one, 78 is, I think, the upper cap, and I believe 72 is the lower cap. 78 would be pretty high. I would say most themed puzzles come in at around the 76 to 74 level, because 72 would be pretty low word count. So right now I'm looking at this and assuming that our fill is probably going to suffer a little bit, because we have a fairly low word count right now, 72 being the lower limit of what would be acceptable. So my thought would be to try to rearrange these black squares in such a way that we're going to have at least bump that up to maybe 74, if not 76, because that will really allow us to have some super clean fill. And then I'm also seeing, if you look down where it says word counts, next to the 3-letter word part, it's saying 27, which is over the acceptable limit for most outlets, which suggests you reduce that to about 20 or less. So in some way, if we could rearrange these black squares to increase the word count but decrease the 3-letter word count, that would be optimal.
Because we're both getting progressively worse at our jobs the more that we drink.
Absolutely.
Is it possible that we could overlook the fact that 27 is more 3-letter words than you tend to want to see in a puzzle, and 56 is a lot more black squares than you tend to want to see in a 15 by 15 crossword puzzle?
Absolutely. I think for the point of what we're trying to do, this is absolutely fine. I just happened to notice since you asked me to look at the stats.
I like that you're being a stringent adherent to those conventions, but it does occur to me that we're not going to submit this puzzle anywhere, are we?
Not this version, probably.
This is for the people. This is the people's puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Amanda, now that like we've placed black squares and Crossfire isn't showing me any red columns, which is to say there aren't any places where my word list doesn't have any potential options. Some places it has fewer than others, like here at 14 down, S blank 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 C. If I hover over it, it's showing me that I actually only have about a dozen potential entries in my word list. But like, given this arrangement, what's your next step in like figuring out if this is going to be like possible to fill?
My next step, and I just want to say I would never fill a puzzle this way, but my next step is I hit Control F just to see if the puzzle is fillable, period.
What does Control F do in Crossfire?
Will auto-fill the puzzle. So obviously if you're constructing, you would never use this, like hit Control F and be done. But what that will tell you if you hit Control F is if the puzzle is capable of being filled with entries. So we can see that there are valid entries for this. So at this point, you can hit Control Z, which will take all those words out. And then you can hit the fill tab in Crossfire so that we can actually go through word for word and pick the entries that we want to have.
Now, Amanda, talk to me a little bit about like a scored word list, because I have the minimum score for potential fill words set to, I think, a fairly low 25, which means that some of these answers are going to be like less than ideal, right?
Yes. I mean, at 50, some of them will be less than ideal. I mean, for me, I always start, at least you and I use the same word list, I think, or at least one of the same word lists, which is the X-word info word list, and which is a scored word list. So 50 is like what's considered, quote, acceptable fill. Most of the 25s are considered something of compromises. 60 or higher would be like an asset. So you see that most of these are 50s. In my opinion, a lot of the 50s are not acceptable. And so just because it says 50 doesn't necessarily mean anything. But where was I going with this? What did you ask me? Did I answer the question?
You've covered it, but I'll just follow up by saying, for the people at home that haven't tried to fill a crossword puzzle before,
I'll be back.
That the idea of attaching a score to particular words, like you can see on the, I'll go to a short entry, like 24 across here. When I click on the fill tab and I start looking at different answers, the computer can actually tell me like, what are the options available to me such that I can fill the rest of the puzzle with words of that word count. And while Amanda was away a moment ago, I very sneakily upped the minimum word fill score to 50. And 50 generally means it's not a word that's going to make me cry. It isn't necessarily a word that I love. I don't love but the computer is telling me that both and or and Pam and Paul, all of these words are words that I could put into this entry slot such that the rest of the grid would still fill using only 50-point words. And at this word count, I'm actually kind of a little bit surprised that this puzzle would fill using only good 50-point words. Because as Amanda mentioned, 72 is a pretty low word count. That means that, you know, if I took away this black square, for example, the word count drops to 70 because I've turned these two words into one word. And I'm actually curious to know if the computer would autofill this grid if I take away this square in particular. And the answer is yes, it would. And that's just the robot telling you that presumably there will be some options to imprint your personality and words that you find interesting into this puzzle in the fill.
Really quick, I want to comment on some of the questions in the chat right now, because this is something that I'm actually doing right now more. I've always done it, but now I'm like actively doing it more than ever. So you upload these words to your word list, right? And so they're pre-scored. When you yourself add words to your word list, you can score them whatever you want. So if I'm going out of my way to add a word to the highest one, the Jeff Chen X-word info list is basically 50 is quote good, 60 is great, 25 is like meh. So that's like the general shtick, right? If I add a word to my word list, I usually make it 70. Because what you can do, Ross, hit words, or hit, I guess, fill, where it says word score, grid score, final score. If you hit word score, you can actually organize the list by point value. So if I have a 70-point word list and it's accessible and I hit word score, it will move that to the top so I can see that I can use that word. So if I'm adding a word on purpose, then I know I like it. I'll score it at a 70 so that it stands out above anything that's already in there, and it will pop up at the top on my list if it's available within any certain grid. And lately, I've also been redoing my word scores as I've been constructing. So when I construct and I am in the fill tab and it's giving me my list of stuff I can use, if I see something that's scored 50 and I'm like, I've never seen that word in my life, that doesn't excite me, I've been dropping all those words down to 40. So they're still in my word list, but I want to know that if I hit Control F at 50 to autofill, if it's telling me it's going to fill at 50, I want to know that it's filling with like quote good stuff. If it won't fill, I can always drop it down to 40 or 25 and make it the best I can. But like, I don't want to be told it will fill at 50 and have it fill with a bunch of crap. Like, that's not that helpful. So I think everybody that I've ever talked to has their own strategy for how they score their word lists and how they kind of adjust stuff. I know people who rate things at 100. Like, it doesn't matter, like whatever works for you, but just know that when you hit your fill tab, you can organize it by score. So if you score things higher than what's already in there, those like really ideal entries will pop out so that you can get them in there as much as possible over your run-of-the-mill words.
Amanda, I have a confession to make.
Tell me.
I sold
On mute the whole time.
I sold out 13 down.
That's okay. You know what? I think she's deserved it. She's earned it.
Has she?
You know what? We're gonna preemptively say yes.
She earned it insofar as she quoted me a high enough price. So now that we have a grid that we know will fill with only 50-point words, acknowledging that some of those words are going to be words that I haven't adjusted, to reflect the fact that 50, they might not be the most awesome words. They might be slightly esoteric words. They might be
There might be some breed of bird that we've never heard of.
Back off. The tern is a legit animal.
No, I love tern. I've had a family argument about terns. That is not what I was thinking of.
So, okay. So let's say that we've settled on this arrangement, acknowledging that there are a ton of black squares and, well, we're down to 23 three-letter words, which I'm actually personally fine.
Better.
Where do you start? Where do you start filling this puzzle?
Well, typically this puzzle, I mean, again, it's just for funsies, but typically you would have 2 very long entries versus kind of here we have a lot of mid-length stuff, but I would start with whatever the longest entries are, because chances are it's a lot more likely that you're going to have some like really interesting phrase or whatever you want to say in a long spot than you are going to have a really awesome 4-letter word or whatever. So I usually start with my couple of longest entries just to make sure that I have something exciting or glittery in there, and then build around that.
I like that I'll use the word glittery to describe.
Yeah, you know.
Can you hear the sink going? My lovely girlfriend is rinsing dishes nearby.
What a gal, Jessie. Can she hear me? Cheering.
I hope she can hear me talking about how my glass is empty.
I'm cheering for her and you're asking for a drink. Classic.
All right.
I'm on third beer again. That's problematic. I can't have a third beer. I will not be able to do this. Okay.
So Amanda, it looks like the longest entries in this grid are 7-letter entries, which admittedly is short for a themed puzzle. Yes. And they're actually crossing. They're here, and here.
Okay. So I guess start there. Click on one of those. And then hit fill. And then.
So what's happening up here right now?
So the computer was thinking when they turn from regular font into bold font, that means any of those bolded entries the grid will fill around those entries. So we can kind of choose now. I hate all of them except 2. I like.
Gotcha.
I'm sorry. I like I gotcha. That's cute. And I like insight. And those are the only 2 that I think I would accept personally.
Right. So between I gotcha and insight, let's both say what we prefer on the count of 3. You ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. For me personally, and I think we've actually, I don't want to say quibbled, but discussed this in puzzles we've made. I really like multiple word entries and long entries over a long word that's a singular word.
You
There
can
have been times we've had to do it before because it was best for the grid overall, which I will accept. But if I can choose, I will always choose multiple words over one word.
Amanda, you can tell the people that we fight. We're grown humans.
I wish I could, but we really don't. Our biggest argument has been over EGOT.
Let me just put this out there to the people. If you saw this answer in a crossword grid, EGOT, does that make you happy and smile, or does that make you cringe and weep?
The happiest is the answer. It's the best entry.
All right. First of all, this is
Richard Rogers was the first EGOT, and it's a lot to smile about.
I will say for the record, well, everyone's on your side, but I will say
right, it's not my fault.
I will say that I've come around on this one, and now I'm comfortable with it.
That's good. But I do remember that's actually the only thing that I can remember us ever like truly having different opinions on.
Okay. Amanda, it occurs to me that good God actually fits.
Right. Incredible. And Porat is an acceptable partial, and Loge is also theater related. So Elgar is striking me as a little questionable, but I'm not sure what else. It looks like we have other options. So in the grid, the ones that are really dark, like Good God and Art, those mean if we choose I Gotcha, we must also choose Good God and Porat. The ones that are lighter, like that L in Elgar, it meant there were other options there. Like Edgar. Edgar is fine, but Doge is, what the fuck is Doge?
So if I enter Good God, the computer's actually telling me that we can use Edgar as well. Which
But with Doge? Doge is a meme? I don't know. See, I don't know. And that's the thing. Here's the thing. Anytime I ever am about to question something or reduce it in my word list, I always Google it first. Because I definitely do not think I'm the foremost expert on most things. And so if people are saying Doge is legit, then awesome. I like Edgar a lot more than Elgar.
I'm inclined to actually be democratic about such things. And that's why I like giving my grids to people to test solve before I send them anywhere. Because this is like a hill I'll die on.
A hill I'll die on. God, I heard Hillel and then die on. I was very confused. This is a Christian grid. Stick to the script.
You're right. I like, just because a word strikes you as uncommon or esoteric or boring, you have to check yourself, and you have to find out whether or not the world agrees with you. How much of the world agrees with you? What part of the world agrees with you or disagrees with you?
I agree, except for EGOT, which is unilaterally awesome.
I mean, now that the people have spoken, I have to agree. I'm obliged to agree with you. I do like the Good God is cute. It's a little bit, it muddies the waters a little bit in terms of like what's a theme answer and what's not, but it's a fun little sub.
I'm 100% on board unless it muddies up the fill for the rest of the grid, in which case I want it gone.
So Crossfire is now telling us two things, which is that any of the down answers in this 20 down here must necessarily include an S. And the only word that is available to us here is now the word petty.
Petty? I guess there are girls who do their nails. I'm not one of them, but they exist.
Amanda, there are plenty of humans that do their nails.
Oh yeah, men do their nails too. I would actually get a man's manicure. That's the kind of manicure I want, is whatever they do to guys. I want that one.
All right.
I don't have any nails. I'm gonna be buffed.
Do you like fest or fust? Because those are our only options here.
I don't care. I would put in the S, and then I think they're both fine. Let's use whichever one gives us better fill overall.
This is sad to me. I actually have Odic scored at 50 in my word list, which is dumb because Odic is a bad word.
It's not your fault. Somebody else scored it that way. You just haven't changed it yet.
That being said, OPEC is a fine answer for me.
Okay.
Because they're a massive conglomerate.
That's one of those words that for me, I'm like, I'm not excited about, but I know it's legit, and so I'm happy to put it in a puzzle.
It does. Someone mentioned though that like Odic would give us the opportunity to clue Sid as
Sid's grid. I mean, of course. What else? But then we also have odic in the grid. And I tend to love I like all the ode related words, but odic is not one that I just haven't really come across. I'm not anti, I'm just not pro, and I think we can do better.
I love the phrase "ate up"
I do too.
because, like, I want to eat you up with a spoon most days.
Of course. I think we should put it in the grid. And PGA is fine with me because it's in whatever. It's fine. It's actually funny. I grew up in Palm Beach Gardens, which was called PGA was like the area in Florida. So it's kind of weird. Like I didn't even think of it as this, but it's a big part of my childhood.
Let's burn through a little bit of this grid together. I'm just gonna highlight some of these options, and I want you to tell me what you like.
Geode and pho looks good to me. I like pho. I like shot. I like geode. If we can get Gal Gadot in there, that would be hot. I mean, good.
Ooh, I don't love HTTPs.
HTTPs, that's not a real plural.
Oh, it occurs to me that if we got rid of Rhea, it might change.
No. It doesn't change HTTPs. Yeah,
we sold it. We sold it.
Good. Okay, we'll take out Gal Gadot. That's fine.
Actually, now that I've said that, HTTPS is a totally valid.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not a plural. It's a different.
Oh, it's for secure. Got it. Okay, legit. We'll keep it. What do we have with that V? What are our options there? Lav and Mav. Well, Mav is a sports team, right? It's a basketball team. The something Mavs.
It's a sports ball team.
Dallas Mavericks. And then Lav is a bathroom. So what do we have going across? I think our M options are more legit. So let's go with Mav, and it's a sports team, which will appeal to somebody. And then here's our opportunity for Ode if we want to do that. And then Toner is great. Epi is fine. I can live with that.
We preserved Rhea. We earned our Gex. Is that how you say that?
Don't
know. Where do you want to go next?
Go down where the SE is. We should finish off that section, I think, because
down here.
No, right above the O in Episcopal Church.
Right above the O in Episcopal.
Okay, what do we have? Is it just sec? Is that our only? Okay, so I guess that's going in. I like color better than Connor, if that's an option.
It is.
Because I think I'm a person who likes to avoid as many names and puzzles as possible. Because I'm terrible at them myself, and so I'm being selfish and wanting to not like overdo it.
Yeah.
God, you know what happens? You put somebody's name in a puzzle, it's published a year and a half later, it's too late, they go do something fucking creepy, and then you're trapped with their name in your puzzle. Forget it.
I love that we're capturing all of your F-bombs on this recorded Zoom.
I'm sorry. I'm not drinking anymore. I finished my second beer, and now I'm just chilling.
Rhea, cover your ears. Okay, now it occurs to me that there are a ton of options for LE blank.
There are.
We're not really constrained in this part of the grid.
I would go back over to another long answer and see if we can work our way back over and get something exciting in a long answer.
So these are our two long answer.
Let's see what we got.
You want to start with the down or the across?
Let's do the down. Because we have fewer options and it will show us the acrosses anyways. Okay, attirer, I'm sorry, is not a thing. In fact, many of these things are not a thing. So
if you're more than Ken Stern, are you Ken Stern?
In fact, I actually don't like any of these except for Staffer.
Staffer I'm fine with. Sterner I'm fine with if like we needed to. Charlie Steiner was a beloved like sportscaster in the New York area. And Stonier.
What's WTA tour?
WTA, I think, is that the Women's Tennis Association? Did I make that up?
Hey Ross, you want to tell them about the best parsing story ever? Animals in their bottom halves.
One of my favorite things about solving puzzles collaboratively is that sometimes you'll write in an answer and the person that you're solving it with won't know like how to parse what you've written in. This happens in constructing too. So one day Amanda and I were constructing a puzzle and I wrote in an entry And Amanda looked at it and blinked and then said, "What's froggle-gees?"
I can't read down, okay? Turns out it was frog legs, which is a very legitimate entry, but I cannot read. It is an impairment. It's a very personal impairment of mine. I am unable to read the language down at all. And this must have been a down entry. And this happens to me still all the time, which is why sometimes I hover over the entry so it shows me across, because I can't. I'll think something's crap, but I just can't read down.
Okay, well, let's take the spotlight off your foibles. And
That's good. I would like that.
I think Staffer is my favorite among these.
Staffer's my favorite too, but I hate antifix.
Well, I don't. Is that necessarily our only possibility?
It's making it look like it is.
It is. Anti-fix.
Stonier was okay. I think you had pointed that out as one that you were okay with. I can live with that. I don't love it, but in spite is okay. But what's SeaTac?
SeaTac is the airport that serves
Oh, Seattle Tacoma. Yeah. What's Steph?
In spite does not inspire a lot of warmth and joy in my heart.
Me either.
But maybe we could salvage it with a fun clue.
Yeah, but what's Steph? Is that a person like Stephanie?
Steph, oh my God, you are not a sports ball fan in the slightest.
Obviously.
Steph Curry is
Oh, he's a basketball player.
He's a basketball player.
I do know that. In somewhere inside of me. What do we have there for OES? Probably Otos, right? Yep.
Yes, Otos and Kappa.
Okay, so now here's the thing. I'm mule-headed as any son of a bitch, and I hate being told what my corner has to be.
Yeah, okay. Does that mean we're backing off of all of this?
I mean, let's see if we have other options. What's Capons and art? Capons, Bose, Rem, Abu. It was okay, but like, do we have to?
Yeah, I don't love it at all. Were there any other options here that?
Wait, how much? Okay, for color, what was that other word that was our choice? Like Codor or something? Is that L affecting us in some way?
No, because it was Connor, and that's not gonna change this.
That's not even how you spell that normally, huh? Okay.
I'm also okay with WTA Tour insofar as, because someone pointed out in the chat, we have the PGA Tour.
That's true.
So maybe we give the women athletes some airtime.
Sure. I'm happy to do that, but what's Ars Nova? And Nownal. I hate that.
And Stivic.
Crapalicious.
I like that we're hitting a sticky point here, because it just goes to show, I think, to the people watching at home, that this part of the process often involves changing your black square arrangement, which often involves like getting rid of everything you've done to this point.
I was going to say we might have to part with Good God, because honestly, the GOD coming into that middle section, which is already pinched, is part of what's putting us with emu oil. You know what I mean? Like, it is.
Actually, Atelier does not kill me.
It doesn't kill me either, but what are we stuck with because of it?
Well, let's find out. We're stuck with In Spite. Again, we're stuck with either. Ooh, no, we have static or SeaTac.
Okay, plural is fine by me.
Crossword puzzle, unless it had.
Puzzle wouldn't be complete without those eppies.
Yeah, someone actually just pointed out that there's a.
It definitely is.
Dupe in God and God Forsaken. And
leave it in for a second. Hit the words tab, Russ. At the end of the puzzle, we would have hit this to check for dupes, and we absolutely would have caught it there. So I'm very glad that somebody caught it now before we went any further.
That being said, I've already gone on record as not giving an F about dupes. So I'm going to say, screw it. We're defying convention. We are defying God right now and leaving it in. How do you feel about that?
I'm not sure. I'm agnostic about it. I know. You should just cut me out of the chat now. You are in control. Just get me out of here.
Can you tell me what you prefer between SeaTac and static?
Static, because SeaTac can only be clued one way. But I hate Obia, and I'd rather have Steph. So in that case, it's SeaTac. for me, like it's always about like what's going to yield like overall the best product. I don't think I try, and I think I probably learned this from you, the kill your darlings mentality, where like you cannot get attached to anything in the grid, like or like to the extent that it will kill something. It's
Yeah.
just not worth it.
Well, moving on. I
think Aspens is more legit than Unpens, which is not a thing, really.
Clearly you haven't raised hogs.
Clearly. I mean, obviously. Ooh, oh, Chew. Who's Chew? Even Chew?
I'm excited to see that we have some options in this corner.
Oh, good. Okay.
The most limited entry here is this blank blank EP, which we have Seep, Prep, and Shep.
Click on one of the other ones. No. Okay, hang on. Go back to the Seep down and click on one. Click on Prep or click on Prep. What's Basra? I feel like it's a legitimate thing. I've seen it before, but I don't know what it is.
Basra city in Iraq. I'm pretty sure.
Well, Abu, most people could probably get from Aladdin. Sam, there's a lot of famous Sams. ASAP is legit. Like, if something has to be in here that I don't like, if the crossings are fair, then I won't really care.
I don't love having Basra. I mean, nothing against Basra. I'm sure it's lovely this time of year, but especially crossing Abu and Sam.
Sam is fine. Crossing Abu is hard.
Clearly, we're going to clue Sam as...
Obviously. I just started watching Cheers because I'm like 40 years behind in television, and Sam is the main character in Cheers, I think.
Sam. Can we just look at what Seep was going to offer us?
I don't like Hosea. What is that?
Another biblical term, which would further muddy the waters, and would
also... and 2 is hard, crossing Hosea, crossing Palm, and CPAs. I don't like that corner.
Okay, so last option was Shep, which offers more options everywhere.
I don't like Shep. What is that?
Shep, you could name your dog Shep or Shep.
You can name your dog anything. I don't. That's not a good argument.
No, like a sheep herd, like a
shepherd. Oh, I don't know. I think the other 2 words are a lot more legit.
I agree, but you're either looking at Hosea or Basra. What do you think?
I mean, honestly, what I would do at this point is put Basra into X-word info and just see how many times it showed up, because that can at least give me some indication of if people might be familiar with it or not.
It's a legitimate word. It's a city in Iraq. Actually, it was unfortunately, it was, I think, more in the American consciousness during the Iraq War.
Yeah.
Which doesn't, I mean, if it were me, since you asked, I actually like Shep as the best potential answer, because Shep Smith is like a famous, albeit a Fox News commentator.
Okay. Sasha's good. CSU isn't my favorite. Is there anything else that can go there?
Aisha Tyler. I love her.
Yeah, totally.
And that gives us
O. O is a well-known word. It's French, but what's I don't really. O and Eta is not the best top, but it's
ETAs, bro.
ETAs. I mean, I don't know why I said Eta. I knew it was ETAs. This is classic Amanda.
Here is. This doesn't. This
I like that better.
That. All right.
I do like that better. That's comfortable to me. I think that's gettable for people.
People are pointing out that other things do work here, like twas and tau. And
wait, what's Wim? Wim Wenders? I don't know who that is. I'm really bad with people's names.
But eras.
I think in terms of thinking about a general, like who the most, like, I can't articulate right now. I think that is the most generally accessible option we have.
That's fine with me. Moving down here.
Snow from, is that how you spell it? From Carousel? Isn't that Enoch Snow, the guy's name? That's, nobody wants that except for me, but I'm just asking to the world. I think that is how you spell it. When she sings the song Mr. Snow.
This is like you tell me, because you previously said that you like to limit the number of names in your puzzle.
I do. I would never choose Enoch over Enact. I was just thinking out loud about Enoch Snow. Yeah, okay. Dan says Enoch Snow is what it is. So I feel good in my heart about that, even though I would prefer Enact in the puzzle. because only me and Dan would probably be able to get Enoch Snow if we were to clue it that way.
I want to empower you to make your own choices and not let the best crossword solver of all time influence your opinions, but you know, you do you.
No, I think Enact is the better crossword choice, but if I was making a Theater Thursday puzzle, I would choose Enoch.
Fair enough. It does lock us into Allah and either AAs or AAA.
I don't love those choices, but I actually think they're gettable for most solvers.
They're totally gettable. They're just not that sexy.
LES is also fine too, in terms of like cluing that people could get. I don't really care. To me, AAA and AAS are basically the same with LES and LEA. They're all just stuff that crossword people would know fine.
I will say that I hate AAs because you never say that word in that way. You say double A batteries.
Yeah, I think AAA is a better entry too, just because it's not only batteries, but it's also like an entity. And Leah is a word that I've actually never heard a person say in real life, but it's used. It's such common crossword language that I feel comfortable putting it in the puzzle without.
It only makes me think of Avonlea, or Anne of Avonlea, which was like a.
It's Anne of Green Gables. It's one of like the sequels, or what? Not sequels, like the whatever. Yeah. Anne of Avonlea was, I think, the one of the later books.
At any rate, to your point, all the crossings seem pretty gettable to me, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and Leah is also a name, so we'd have some choices there. Hava, Nagila, Hava. Just kidding. Just, you know.
We need some representation in this puzzle. Let's get the Hava in this puzzle. For the Jews who have been wandering in the crossword desert for the last 2 hours, the promised land is at hand. It's locking us into a few things, but I don't hate it. I like it.
What are they? What's it locking us into? Is it at least Usain Bolt?
Yeah.
What is
Usain Bolt, US Air, USAID, and use in.
I don't like use in. Let's not do that one unless we have to.
I like Usain Bolt. Let's get some people of color. Do you support me?
I do support you.
Okay.
Oh, yes, I'm looking in the chat and I saw that terrible story about Leah Michelle, which is, I guess, while somewhat unsurprising, is still disappointing. Let's see. I'm fine with any of those options. What do the across at the A? Because that's gonna show me what's ant. Maybe let's try ant. That seems like a real word compared to some of the other. And lint and vault and TNT is fine with me.
We're getting very close to having a finished puzzle here, friend.
Yeah.
I want to look around and see if there are any of these down answers that are super restrictive.
Oh my God, gay can go right there. Look, it wants it. It's like forcing itself in. Okay.
Well, we've got a gay puzzle.
We have Hava and gay. I have arrived.
All right. How about this I blank S blank blank?
I mean, if I'm set or in some or it's me will work. I think all five of those answers are great. It'd be cool, especially since we didn't have much in the way of long fill. If we can get a multi-word thing in here, I think that would be ideal. But
I'm set limits us to T-top, which I really just.
No. Okay, get it out.
Can I make a case for Insta?
I think Insta. I'm happy with Insta.
Do it for the gram. Do it for the gram.
All right, do it for the gram. What does that give us? What's nip in?
Nip. I don't like nip in, but
Napes and nip at are fine with me. Oh, I thought it did tampon for like a hot second.
Tap in and tap on. Either one is fine with me.
Tap in is kind of fun, more than tap on.
It's a tap in. So
Yeah.
this limits us. Ooh, IPA.
Yay! Get it in.
And a tad.
Fine, I guess.
Fine.
There's not a dupe of that somewhere else, right? We haven't done any partials like that.
We've already gone on record as saying we don't care about dupes, so we don't care about dupes.
Okay. Then forget it. Go to the geo part. Gosh, no, definitely.
Can we get God, and gosh in this puzzle?
Be awesome. What's Goshen? Yeah, I think gosh, no is our only valid option here.
There are plenty of options everywhere, so I think this is going to work.
Okay.
Racks or races?
Go down to the A. Um, Annie and annoy and apnea for me work. Ken's. This was one of our disputes too, although I knew I was in the wrong that time. I was just being a pighead.
Can we just retread on Ken's for a second?
Yeah. So Ross and I, again, have probably made, I think, Ross, we've made at least 50 puzzles together. I counted at one point, but that was a little while ago. So I'm going to go on record saying it's approximately 50 now. And there was, the word Ken was in our puzzle, and I had been arguing for probably like 12 puzzles that I wanted to clue Ken as toy made with no plastic junk, question mark. And Ross wouldn't let me because he was right. An actual mainstream outlet would not have allowed that. But I told him finally, I was like, Ken is not going in any of our grids ever again if I can't clue it that way. And then I put it in one of my incubator puzzles at some point, and I finally got to clue Ken as toy made with no plastic junk. And it was one of the peaks of my crossword time.
Well, we've got a Ken in the audience, and Ken, I don't love as a plural.
I don't love as a plural, but it was very reminiscent of that time in our lives.
We're going back. Actually, this is a perfect period to put on this, because the truth is, when you and I started making puzzles together, you and that trip to Los Angeles, where we spent 3 straight days on your futon making puzzles, was like personally a very important you know, moment for me to like make connection and make friendship. Like I was spinning my wheels a little bit in a lot of ways, and you came out of nowhere and grounded me in puzzles and, like, you know, community and the bonds of friendship in a way that was super important. And I didn't reject you out of hand for your insane clue for Ken. And in point of fact, the people should know, you've received a lot of plaudits for that particular one. So despite my consternation at the beginning,
one of my favorite moments of you eating crow was when that clue got an Orca nomination.
that crow was the most delicious crow I've ever eaten.
Oh, that was the best. I didn't even care about the actual nomination. I just cared that I could then tell you that happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've come to approximately the end of this event. And I will say there are things about this puzzle that Amanda mentioned, like the number of black squares and the fact that there are relatively few long down answers to get like interesting, long, non-thematic fill in. But good God, we have created a totally legitimate, fun, zippy puzzle in the space of about an hour. So hats off to all of you for generating this lovely theme material. And baby, we did it.
So proud. We did great. It was a lot of fun. We'll probably do it again.
Do you have any parting words for the people? Anything you want them to think about as they...
Well, if anyone has any final questions or comments, I guess now is the time to do that. I think we're probably going to do this again sometime. So if you have any feedback or anything that would help us make this a more fun / interesting time, I'm sure we'd both be delighted to hear such things, because this was so fun. And yeah.
But before we shut it down, I will say one last thing about making a puzzle collaboratively, and that is, I've found actually the biggest and most important lesson I learned making puzzles with Amanda is that when you make a puzzle with another person kind of checking your assumptions about what is good and what is right and what is like interesting, I think it really makes for a better product, and a product that is both more democratic and a product that can bring joy and diversion to a broader swath of your solving community. And I really recommend it as a practice. Get other people involved in your process. I think crucially, people who, you know, aren't like you, people that have different perspectives and different, you know, inputs, people that are accessing the zeitgeist from a different place and with different values.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, I have changed the scoring of my word list based on things other people have said were great versus offensive. And like, even people who are like you can make you think things in new ways. I've had other women talk to me about words in their word list that they are very opposed to, that I just kind of had in there and have since like dropped the value of significantly. So, I mean, obviously somebody with a different background or life experience than you will probably bring an even wider array of you know, thoughts. But sometimes even people are similar to yourself can have thoughts that you didn't have. See, I totally agree that the collaboration process is very much like, no matter how experienced you are, like, it's very much a learning experience. And the more people you can collaborate with, the broader your sort of worldview will become around Phil, and even clues related to the Phil, things I would have never thought of. People have suggested, and it's been a teaching experience for me moving forward.
Well, that's around 2 hours, so let's call it there. And don't forget to visit Amanda's website, which is, what's your URL?
My puzzle site's URL. God, I think it's just blogspot.amandarafkin.com. I don't know. I think
Google Amanda Rapkin, you'll find it. I think, Amanda, you should put this puzzle up. I really like the result. And
we have to clue it.
I have a site too. It's a secret. Find it on your own. And obviously go to sidsgrids.com. That's where you should start.
Of course. And tomorrow, which I will say so tomorrow is my blog's 100th post, which is crazy. I can't believe I've been doing it that long. And it's actually a guest puzzle by a really awesome constructor. So I'm excited. Or Sunday, I guess, is the 100th post, not tomorrow. But yeah,
well,
this weekend.
That's a lovely milestone, and I'm glad to end on something so saccharine. I miss your face. I want to embrace puzzles together, maybe one day, and we'll see all of you hopefully at like some crossword tournament in the future, if there is a future.
There'll be a future.
All right. Well, I'm gonna close this up, but please visit Amanda's website. Find us on Twitter. Follow up with us if you want to try and make a puzzle. Either of us, both of us. You know, we'd love to do that. And it's the end, but it's never the end.
Never the end. We'll probably do this again because we're gluttons for fun.
Gluttons for fun. All right. Bye, guys. Have a great night, everyone.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for coming.